Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's a fabulous Wednesday. Wednesday is always when we record, and today is a good Wednesday. And why is it a good Wednesday? Because in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community, we started a challenge today, a 3-day challenge. So if you are listening on the podcast, you're going to listen on the podcast, and it's going to be after the challenge is done. Sorry, not sorry, but I'm sorry that you missed it. But we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in the challenge, and that's going to relate to our topic of today of why affirmations. And yeah, so I'll kind of fill you in. You'll get a kind of a clue about what we do, some of the things that we do in the group. Because I think it's really important that if you're listening on the podcast and you're not a member of the group, yeah, what's in it for me? That's usually the question when people are asked to do something or join something. It's kind of like, well, what's in it for me? And so we're going to let you know what's in it for you. So if you're not a member and you are intrigued, you definitely want to come and join us. www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. And you can come in and be a part of the community and the events and the things that we do in the group. So little bit of background for those people who are listening on the podcast. We started today a 3-day challenge, and we're calling it the Believe in Me challenge. And it is involving affirmations and positive affirmations, and really why they're so important, why it's how they can just change the trajectory of your life. um, but there are some key things that I'm going to talk about today that really make or break whether or not affirmations actually work or not. There definitely is there's been plenty of scientific studies to show that affirmations do work and do help people in a variety of ways. But there's a lot of things that have to go along with that in order for that to happen. So we're going to kind of talk about that today. But for those who are not in the group, so kind of what we did was everybody, if they were interested in doing the affirmation or the Believe in Me challenge, they signed up. They got some information yesterday, a little video from me, as well as a couple of informational sheets. One sheet was just some information, the other one was an actual worksheet that they could fill out. So we're doing affirmations twice a day. But I also recommend that they be done way more than twice a day, but we're writing them out twice a day. For those of you who don't know, I was a former teacher and I was a resource specialist. And I actually have my master's in special education. And so I know quite a bit about the brain writing connection and how powerful that is. And so, and how we really need to, when we have, I'm not going to say when we have, because we all have negative thought patterns that run through our brain. And that is just part of being a human being. And we're going to get into that and what and why that looks like that. Yeah. But I know that there's so much power in writing. And so, we're writing our affirmations twice a day. I'm recommending that people carry the affirmations with them and say them more than just twice a day. But the writing piece is important. Also, possibly putting sticky notes up around the house and reminding yourself of these affirmations. So everybody picked three, and they're the three that they're going to go through the days with, the 3 days of the challenge with. So we're already getting some really cool feedback of a lot of people are already feeling very differently about themselves, because as you know, in this group, we are really addressing issues with emotional eating and losing weight. And when we don't feel good about ourselves, we don't make good choices. So that is a just something that's so very important for everyone to be really aware of, is that we have all the power in how we feel. We do not have to wait for other people to make us feel good. We get to make ourselves feel good by the thoughts that we create in our heads, because those thoughts create our feelings and our feelings drive our actions. And then our actions get us the results that we have in our lives. So, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. So, goals for this podcast is I want to really impress upon everyone the impact that negative thinking in reality has on you as a person, has on you, then what negative thinking, and we all have it. So there's nothing wrong with you if you have negative thinking. You're a human being. But we also have the power to change that. So the first thing we're going to look at is what the real, like the real down and dirty results of negative thinking, what the impact is on our bodies and on ourselves. And then the second is why do the affirmations? What's the reasoning behind it? Why is that important? Why is that something that you should continue to do even after these 3 days are up? And so that's what we're going to talk about. So those three things I want to make sure that you understand the negative, the impact that negativity and negative thought patterns have on your health and on your life and on your body. And then also the why we want to choose affirmations, why affirmations are something that's really worthwhile. So um, the reality of negative thinking is that negative thinking is part of being a human being. And you've heard me say plenty of times 50-50. We have to expect, as a human being having a human experience, 50% positive emotion, 50% negative emotion. That's just life. But we can't avoid the negative feelings, the negative emotions that we have. We have to face them. We don't just change our thoughts and go, oh, I'm going to think something positive. So that's not the idea of affirmations, because we are going to have those negative thoughts. We are going to have 50% of the time we're going to experience negative emotions. One thing we don't want to do is we don't want to just say, "Oh, there's a negative emotion. Oh, I want to ignore that and I'm just going to say something positive." Because that is pushing it away, that is rejecting it, and that's kind of trying to ignore it. And we know that anything we ignore gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we have to be okay with the fact that we are going to have negative emotions. And that again is just part of being a human. Um, what's really important is when you have those negative thoughts and we have those things, we those are merely reflections of beliefs that we have about ourselves. And the cool thing is, like anything else, our thoughts and our beliefs are completely within our power to either keep or change. And we have the power to do that. Each individual has the power to make a decision that if I don't like the way my life is going, if I don't like what's happening, I get to make a decision and I get to change it. And most people don't really think that. So, the first thing I want everyone to think about, and I'm going to ask those people who are in the group who are watching this live, I'm going to ask you to comment um, in the comments. And what I want you to think about, and what I want you to ask yourself and then answer in the comments is, and it's a yes or no question. Yes or no. This is it. Yes or no. Currently, right now, in your life, do you have the results that you would like to have in your life? Do you have the results that you want to have in your life? Yes or no? That's a loaded one. I know, because I'm not being very specific about, I'm just saying your life in general. Because any results that we have in our lives are a reflection, are a result of our thoughts that lead to our feelings, that lead to our actions, that get us our results. So if you're not where you want to be, if your life is not what you want it to be right now, the cool part and sometimes the hard part is that it's all up to you. I think that's super empowering. I think that's amazing. I think that is just like that. We are so lucky. We're not waiting for anybody else. We get to make the decision if our life is not, and that means any aspect of our lives. If any aspect of our lives is not what we want, that's because of the thoughts and the feelings and the actions that we've chosen. We get to do different. We get to make those changes. And that's super cool. I think that's really empowering. Um, so thank you for coming in and answering that. I see some of your responses on the side. So I appreciate you all jumping in on that. One thing that's really important to know, scientific research, like full on scientific research has shown we have upwards of 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 thoughts a day. And 77% of those thoughts are negative for most people. Now, you heard me say earlier 50-50. Most people are not working at 50-50. They're working at 77 and 23. Yeah, 77 and 23. You know, math's not my strong suit. 77 and 23. So that's kind of hard. That's kind of hard when we think about that 77% of our thoughts, the 60,000 that we have, 77% are going to be negative. And those thoughts are oftentimes directed at us. We direct them at ourselves. So we create that negativity in our brain. Now, here's the thing. We know that our brain exists and works kind of removed from us. So our brain thinks that the best thing for it to do is to give you worst case scenario in as many situations because it's going to prepare you. You're going to be ready. You're going to be ready to fight. You're going to be ready to protect yourself. And that's something that we have to change that expectation from our brain. We can change that pattern because it's just a pattern. It's a habit. It's a habitual thought pattern that we or our brain has created, and we've gone along with it. And the cool part is you don't have to go along with it anymore. That's the exciting part. You don't have to. You don't have to go along with those thoughts anymore. When those negative thoughts come in, you don't have to go along with them. It thinks it's protecting you, but it's not. So, one of the things, the first thing that I want to, and it's a phrase that I think is just been so helpful to me and so helpful to so many of my clients, is when those thoughts come in, we remember, and I say this a lot, the first thought is your brain's, the second thought is yours. You don't have to go along with what that first thought is. So the first thought is that instinctual, it's your brain, and usually it's going to be negative. You get to decide if you want to go along with it or do you want to counter it. And I strongly advise you that you counter it and counter it with here's the phrase, that's not true, and I don't believe it. That's not true, and I don't believe it. So when you say something like, oh, God, you're so stupid. Hold on. Nope, that's not true. I don't believe that. That is not true. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be catching ourselves, either when we're saying it aloud or we're saying it in our heads. We need to catch ourselves and we need to make that correction. That is not true. And that's not, and I don't believe that. Okay. So again, we have that ability to be able to make those adjustments. Is it easy? Not when we've had anywhere up to 45 to 60 years of doing this. Is it going to happen right away? Is it going to happen after 3 days of doing affirmations? No, not right away, but it's consistency and it's working towards that. That's what you're working towards. So that really is the first thing that I really want to make sure that you understand is that negativity, and that negativity can have has a huge impact because it holds you back from doing and being and living the life that you want. So the cool thing about the affirmations, so now we're moving into our second thing about why would we do affirmations. The cool thing about affirmations is it just cracks the door open. It just opens the door to maybe we can change that. It opens the door and allows, it's the beginning of the change that is needed to move from the negative thought pattern to a more positive thought pattern. It tells your subconscious that you are going to take responsibility. You're going to take responsibility for your life and for your thoughts and for everything that they have created. Because most of us have allowed our brain to just go to that negative place, and it lets it just kind of run roughshod. And it's time for us, each individual, to take responsibility for the thoughts that we have, and those thoughts and the feelings, and then the actions that we get. So, and the results, we have to be responsible for our results as well. So, whether that's good results or bad results, we have to be responsible for them. And then we get to make the decision as to where we want them to go. So, the cool thing about affirmations, and again, for those people who don't know, an affirmation can be something that you already believe in yourself or believe about yourself, and that it's something that you want to increase in yourself, or it could be a trait that you want to have. And so what you do is you tell your brain that you have it already, that it's already there. You already have it. You've already reached that. And it's it because your brain doesn't necessarily recognize time. It just if we just keep telling ourselves that, we keep telling ourselves that, but we have to believe it too. So if you're wanting to be more organized, you can your thought can be, I'm working on being organized, or I am more organized. I am working on being more organized, or I am more organized. But you just can't keep saying it. You have to do something. You have to take action. So we can say the thought and we could sit there and we could close our eyes and be like, okay, I'm going to say this over and over and over again. And then suddenly I should wake up and be totally organized. No, that's not how it works. We have to have the thought and then the positive feeling, and then we take the actions. So all of those things have to go together. But the affirmation, the belief, is what starts it. That's the thing that starts it. That's the domino. The thought is what knocks the next domino, which makes you feel good. And then the next domino, it translates into your actions that you're taking. So it's super important to remember that every person who's listening to this, every person who's in the group, every person who is listening and watching and a part of, and listens to the replay and any of that, you are creating the life that you have right now. You are creating it with every thought that you have. Think about that. You are creating, and you have created everything that's happened in your life. You have created up to this point by the thoughts that you have. And you get to decide how your future is going to be based upon the thoughts that you want to have from this point forward. We can't change the past. Now we have more information. Now we can move forward, and now we can create the future that we want based upon the thoughts that we want to have in our minds, and then those thoughts become feelings, and the feelings take action. So remember that the thoughts that we have, those negative thoughts, they're habitual. They're just that we just get into the habit of doing them. So we've got to get out of the habit of doing them, and that's where those positive affirmations come in. This is something that I think is super important, and I want everyone to listen to this because I have to remember this all the time. I'm going to read this verbatim as I have it written down. Every complaint, every complaint is an affirmation. Because remember, affirmations are merely thoughts. So they can be both positive and negative. Every complaint is an affirmation of something you think you don't want in your life. A complaint is an affirmation of something you think you don't want in your life. But by thinking about it, you are bringing it to your life. So think about this. Every time you get angry, you are affirming that you want more anger in your life because you're thinking about anger. You're in that angry state. So every time you get angry, you are inviting and affirming that more anger is what you want. You need to be careful about that. Now, that doesn't mean, again, negative thoughts are going to come in. People are going to make us angry. We can choose to hold on to that anger and just bring more of it into our lives, or we can own the anger, we can feel it, we can allow it to be there, and then we can let it go. That's where the key is. It's not about avoiding anger, because anger's an emotion. That's okay. But when we have those positive affirmations, the positive thoughts running through, we can come back from the anger. We can come back from the upset much quicker and much more easily because we have that basis of positivity and those basis of those thoughts already in our heads. Thoughts create your experience, period. Thoughts create your experience. So your experience ain't happening right now. It's the thoughts that they need to change. So here's the thing. It sounds really bad. It sounds really horrible, like, oh my gosh, like I should feel really bad. Like, why am I thinking this way? And the bottom line is that no one teaches us. I mean, this is more new stuff. Like, nobody teaches us how we're supposed to think. Nobody teaches us about negative thoughts or what they do and how they impact us. And so we are having to unlearn years and years and years and years of behaviors and patterns and things that we've always done. And we can keep doing them and we can complain about how hard this is. Sure, we can. It's just going to keep getting harder. Keep complaining about it. Because again, that complaint is an affirmation of this is hard, and hard stuff is what we want in our lives. We want to get things done. So it takes time and it takes commitment. So, in the way of affirmations, this is really interesting. When people say, well, affirmations don't work, you're right. Because what I just said, if you affirm that affirmations don't work, they are absolutely not going to work. So, we have to, again, be careful about the thoughts that we have. So it's the same thing as I've talked about in the group as well. I can't lose weight. My weight won't move. Oh man, this menopause is just so hard. I can't. You're affirming what you do not want in your life. You're affirming what you don't want in your life and you're bringing more of it. So we have to be aware. When we create those thoughts, we've got to be responsible for them. And if you're not, like I say, if you're not getting what you want in your life, the place where it starts is your thoughts. So that is something that we all, and I know I myself, I'm right there with all of you. We all really have to, um, we all really have to make sure that we're being very careful about that. So saying an affirmation one, two times a day, it's not really enough. That's where the writing piece comes in. That's where the carrying it with you, saying your affirmations, reminding yourself. Um, because each time you do that, it's like a little seed is being planted in soil in your brain every single time. And what you're doing is you're recreating and redoing those negative thought patterns and making them more positive. So it really is. It is a commitment. It is a commitment to yourself. It's a long-term commitment, but you are so worth it. And in order for you to get what you want in your life, this has to be something that you do. It really, I really can't, we can't be walking around like negative Nellies and then expect that somehow like everything's going to just like, everything's going to work out. It's just somehow it's going to work out. No, we have to be responsible for that. And we have the control and we have the ability to do that. So what are the benefits of affirmations? Well, for one, makes you feel a heck of a lot better because again, positive thoughts, saying something kind about yourself, some belief that you either believe about yourself or you want to have as a belief about yourself, always going to make you feel better. And as we know, when we feel better, we make better choices in our lives. Also, affirmations, when we feel good, we're not nearly as defensive. We're not nearly as resistant to things people say or to learning or to being open to different things. We have to, we have to put ourselves in a position where we are an open vessel of like being open to learning, whatever it is. And so those affirmations, when we feel good, when you feel good, you're like willing to listen to anybody. Like if I'm in a good mood, it's like I'll listen to anybody, I'll learn anything, I'll take everything in. But I'm not feeling that way. Oh no, no, I don't want to hear anything from anybody. And that's where, for me, I need to change that. I need to really kind of rein that piece in. Um, it also makes you more resilient. You're able to bounce back from things. When you have those positive affirmations with you, you can bounce back. You can have that rebound effect, and that can be really, really effective to be able to something happens and then you're not nearly as devastated if you already have that positivity, you already have those positive thoughts and you have those positive beliefs about yourself. It's amazing how much easier you can bounce back. So this is a funny story. So yesterday I was going to teach a class and came in and was feeling really good, super excited, kind of excited to teach my class. And there's actually somebody in my class I hadn't seen in years, a former student of mine, and she came take my class, and she was right up in front with me. And so I'm getting ready to teach class, and the stereo doesn't work. Like, we can't figure it out. Like, my phone won't work with the stereo. Like, it's never happened before. I've taught at the studio for, you know, 6 months, and it's never happened. We have no music. So we find a way to get music in, and the music gets piped in, and it's not my music, it's somebody else's music. I have no idea what songs are going to come on. And I was just like, all right, let's roll with it. Like, this is what we have to do. And I know it was because I was able to roll with it. Of course, I was making jokes, because then sometimes we were supposed to be moving fast, and then a slow song would come on. I'd be like, oh my God. But I was just able to go with it, because it was like, okay, this is what we have to do. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to be defensive. I'm not going to be upset. It is what it is. And let's just go. Let's just make it happen. And I know that was more of a result of the fact that I do these things on a daily basis. I have these affirmations on a daily basis. And so it is something that I really work on now. Is I'm always that way? No. But yesterday it worked. It was right there. And I was able to roll through, have class, have a good time, laugh and joke with the people about, the fact that I had no idea song would come on, and I'd be like, oh, this song. So it actually ended up being just fine. But I know it's because I'm incorporating these things into my life. And so I'm able to handle things in a much better way, because just I understand how that works now. And it just changes your mindset. It changes your mindset, changes your optimism. You have more of a belief in yourself. And that's really what we're doing, in the Believe in Me challenge. Is it's really about just taking those first baby steps towards believing in yourself, putting yourself in the best possible position, not denying that negative emotions are going to happen, but having that reserve of positivity. So when the negative emotions come, we're not just, it's not like we're pins in a bowling alley. They just get knocked over and they can't get back up again. When we have that reserve of positivity, the negative stuff doesn't impact us nearly as much. And so that's what I really hope for everybody who's doing the Believe in Me challenge. I really want you to think of it as, it's like every day you do them, it's like putting money in the bank. You're just filling your reserves with positivity. And it doesn't mean that your life is always going to be positive, because that's not reality. But you have a reserve. So when things don't go well, you don't forget who you are. You know exactly who you are, and you don't let those things just bowl you over like the bowling ball knocks the pins down. We don't want that. You don't want that. You want to be able to be resilient and respond and be able to make the best of whatever situation is thrown at you. And so that's what you have to think about, is that we're doing this so we have those reserves. We have those reserves that when the scale doesn't move or it goes up, we have that positivity about ourselves. It's not going to bother us as much. It's just not going to do it. It's not going to, we're not going to let that happen. So that is what I hope for. That's what I want for everyone out of the challenge, is really to develop that reserve of positive regard for yourself and belief in yourself. So if you are listening on the podcast and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to get into this group because that sounds so fabulous, you are so right. You do. So again, if you're listening on the podcast, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and come and be a part. It is a good time. It is a party. So we want to make sure that we spread the love to as many people as we can. So again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you listening. And I hope that you have a better understanding of of the impact of negative thinking on you, as well as what you can do to combat it. We're not going to get rid of negative thinking. It's going to happen, but we absolutely can take steps to create the life that we want by taking control of our thoughts and our beliefs about ourselves. And that starts with how we talk about ourselves and the things that we say. And affirmations are an amazing thing to put into your daily routine, into your morning and your evening routine, and throughout the day to put yourself in the position where you are going to be able to handle anything that happens and deal with it and come out ahead, come out not being devastated, but feeling incredibly empowered and powerful within yourself. So hope that was helpful. And again, appreciate all of you being here. If you're if you're in the Facebook group, don't go anywhere because I am going to jump over and chat with you all about the challenge. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all next week. You do not want to miss it. Come on back next week. We'll hope to see you then. All right, take care, y'all.